Kevin, you want to pray for us?
Yes, please bow with me. Father God, we thank you for this day, Lord. We ask that you continue to heal our first responder, Michael Bynum, Lord, and guide the doctors, give them the knowledge they need to give him a full recovery, Lord. I pray for our nation, our military, Lord, those overseas. Lord, give them safety they need, knowledge and guidance to return safely each day, Lord. Our conflict in Ukraine, Lord, I pray for those people, give them safety and guidance. Our people in the county and surrounding counties still suffering from the tornado, their losses, their mental, physical fatigue, dealing with all that, Lord, I pray that you give them the help they need to continue to move forward, get through this, and Lord, if there's someone in need, and ask that you bring that to someone's attention who may be able to provide the help they need, Lord. I ask all this in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll go ahead and call court to order March 15th, 2022. It's been a busy morning this morning. I am still waiting on my association. We're supposed to have an emergency Zoom meeting sometime today on a House bill that's going to have implications to our EMS service, potentially. So Brian was just up here, so I hope to have some information on that.
777?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're keeping a close eye on that bill. It is just being pushed, and we'll see. So,
Well, they killed the other two, and then somehow this one, it got back in.
yeah,
I don't know
it's
how that happened.
you can definitely tell that I think looking at the numbers in the committee, it didn't have support to die as far as the bill, but it definitely will have an effect, in my opinion, on pre-hospital care. And that's what we're looking at. Obviously, as a county, we have our CNA, but pre-hospital care is important to keep the integrity of that service. So we'll go ahead on the agenda. Under guest, Laurel Matula. Good morning.
I don't have much today. We're almost done with 3. Don't have much today. I will say that we were the second project through this whole disaster. We couldn't be PW number 1 or project worksheet number 1 because the state of Kentucky was, but we were project PW, project worksheet number 2. So it's all the way through the system, and it's the road department street signs. I suspect that Marshall County will have a few more that are the first through the system, but it's official now. It was starting through the queue, but it's official. Now, even though it'll be obligated soon, that doesn't mean we'll get the money soon because we have to wait on the state contract. So the state will have to send a contract for the county to sign, and in the past, that's taken a little bit of time. So we're almost there, but even then, we have to wait on the state. We're still waiting on the 30-day time period to be selected. As soon as that 30-day time period is selected, our big project, so the first project that was through the system for the disaster was the road department, but it was a very small project. It was the stop signs and street signs that were damaged, and that's insignificant to the costs of the debris project. So while we were first, it's for a very small dollar amount. Our big project, which is the debris project, we're still waiting on the state to set a 30-day period. The good news, I think, that's happened since the last time Fiscal Court met is that through some very key work by our senator, the federal share has changed from 75% to 90% on this disaster. So the local share for Marshall County just went from 13% to 5%. There's a rumor that I'm repeating that perhaps the state will come in and pick up that other 5% now because the state share just went from 12% to 5%. So maybe that will be for all projects, maybe it'll just be for the big debris projects, unknown, but that is a significant cost savings to Marshall County. So but it's still a reimbursement program. So we still have to spend the money to get the money back. You have to have the money to do the cleanup to get reimbursed. We call that a BFD, a big financial deal.
BFD.
Yeah. Let's see. So debris, I don't know the status of living lands and waters and their cleanup. I feel like we're almost done. We're doing a couple little last minute items there, but if there's anything that's still, and it's last call on the roads. And I'll defer to Roy if you want to talk about the last call process or last pass.
Yeah, we're in the process of our last pass the last couple of days. And then today, we're going to go out and start marking off the roads that looks great, it's finished. So we'll start that today, marking them off.
Now, on special cases, maybe there's, on onesie twosies, perhaps we can do something to address items that are after this last call, but the standard answer is going to be no. We had 3 months, but to every rule, there's perhaps something. There may be a good reason. It better be a great reason. Do you have a great reason?
Well, what I was going to say is that obviously every disaster, they're not all the same.
Right.
And so changes, I know from the very beginning, we had talked about potential changes, and as we navigate through this, we're starting to see those changes. But no, I was just going to say that the agreement we have to pick up the state debris, I saw them out on the interstate yesterday. So I talked to Kyle Pote. They have actually cleared their first check. I think it was like 230-something thousand, so that should be getting to us this week. So there's still some work on the state right-of-ways that they're going to be doing. So,
Yeah.
But they're doing a great job.
Yeah,
So.
and it's now time for this court, if you see something on the roadways that you think should have been collected, or if it's a leaner or a hanger, so a dangerous branch or a hazardous tree, to please make Roy aware at this time, because
Now's the time to get it.
yeah, if it doesn't happen now, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So looks great, and their contractors, I mean, we're talking another week at the most, probably?
Well, look at it this way. He's going to start scaling down his presence. So his
Which you can-
footprint is,
You
but
can
it's,
see that from the
Yeah.
reports.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So it's kind of hard to hit that target
Yeah.
when you ask time frame, but I know he stays, Roy works with them, but there is going to be a smaller footprint.
So let's talk about the landfill, the refuse, and, I mean, have we had that discussion with them? I mean, are they, once this big last pass is done or whatever, are they,
Will they be
somebody
accepted?
tears down another house in a month or something, they're not, that would be wherever that would go before
Right, so
back
that would be
to
between that
whatever
homeowner
contractor.
and whatever landfill or transfer station they take it to. The refuse district will not be under any obligation to accept that
Take that,
debris
like-
because they weren't the applicant or the eligible party to receive it. So
Yeah.
if they normally charge for that, then they would charge
Yeah.
for that.
Okay. So it's time that those contractors are gonna have, it's back to normal.
Yeah,
As far as,
and looks
that
great with the
process.
C and D. I mean, that's going to be a period of time to remove the C and D. So in a way, that's a totally different operation from cleaning up the sideway or right-of-ways with vegetation.
you're saying the C and D that is out at the refuse currently?
Yeah, that's going to continue on because there's so much of
Right.
it. Whatever the end date is, their operations will still be
Yeah,
ongoing.
okay.
But, yeah, the refuse, I mean, at some point, there's going to have to be that transition, and that's on that board to make that decision. What we have there, I know the ash, we talked about the ash, the pile of ash. We've had some farmers look at it as far as utilizing the ash to put on their fields. That's probably the best option to get rid of the ash because we don't have to pay for the hauling. But hopefully we'll have participants take up that opportunity.
And at this point, do we have that finalized, or do we need any more potential to possibly contact Roy?
I know, as far as the ash, I know that I sent Tim some contacts, and they were supposed to reach out to him and go look at the site.
Okay.
I think there's like 15,000 pounds or tons. I can't remember what.
There's a lot.
Yeah. So, and if there's other farmers, that want to go look at it, I mean, it's there that they can benefit to use. But there have been some that go out there and look at it. But as far as if they're going to take it or not, I haven't heard that yet.
Right. It may not be, it's ash and it's from vegetative
Yeah.
debris, but there may be some bigger sticks in it, so it's not something like they would purchase somewhere else, so it's not perfect ash.
Right.
They may have to do some processing themselves. There may be some things that didn't burn all the way, and
Right.
there may be some impurities in that ash, some debris or barbed wire fence or something that
Oh,
came
yeah.
through,
Yeah.
pieces of metal. So, it's great for us to say, this is a product that farmers in our area pay for, but they are going to have to do a little bit of work. But if they're willing to do that little bit of work, then there's this great commodity that we have for free if they will come get it.
Yeah. Worst case, if we
Otherwise,
have
we have
to
to pay to
haul it
bury it.
out, then we'll
Yeah.
have to pay to haul it out.
To put it in a landfill, and that feels like the wrong thing. And then I think, I'm springing the sun, Roy, have we also found a solution to not have to bury concrete? Surprise.
Kinda.
Okay.
So what I was looking at is having a company come in and crush the concrete to reuse the rock. And after we got through hauling the majority of the concrete to the landfill, then he's gonna come out with me and give us a price on what it costs to do that.
Yeah.
And we did the rough numbers, and it's a significant cost savings to grind that concrete down, and then use for beneficial reuse within the county, for road base or aggregate
Yeah.
of some type, versus having to haul it out and bury it. And,
That's good.
which is a good transition. We do have a few invoices that have come through for one of the items that Fiscal Court discussed last time and passed a resolution to haul the concrete that was the foundation concrete that was clearly foundation. So we have about $5,000 in invoices for that, which seems like a pretty good deal.
Now, to my understanding, we still have to pay to haul it.
Still, To
to haul it out of the landfill, or not the
to
landfill, but the
to cru-
refuse.
Once we crush it?
Well, yeah, so,
Depends on whether they would whether refuse board would allow us to continue to operate there for a little bit and to crush it on site. I think that would be,
Allow us to crush it on site and leave that pile there and us use it as needed. That's an option.
then we don't have to pay to haul it. It would be the concrete recycler equipment would come in, we would pay them to crush it, and then it would stay on site there until road department could use the items, if the refuse board is willing to allow that. Otherwise, road department would have to haul out that crushed concrete and put it at the road department.
how much are we talking about?
When we did the numbers, it was about one quarter of the cost of the,
Well, I mean, as far as how much crushed concrete are we talking about? Are we going to get in a situation where we have a pile of crushed
where we have
concrete
too much.
and no
I-
use for it?
I don't think so. Roy, what do you?
Talking to the gentleman who owns the company, he can crush it to like 57 rock, small rock, or number 3s, which we line our ditch with, if it's washing.
And that's stuff that we can use?
Is number 3 similar to dense grade? Is that what?
The 57s is similar to dense.
Or 57, yeah.
Or the 3s, which is, pretty good size rock that we put in a ditch. And also, as he's crushing it, it has a magnet in there that separates the rebar and puts it in another container, so then you dispose of the metal.
So we're trying to figure that out. If we can do that, that's good for the county, and it's a cost savings to the federal taxpayer as well as the county.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we can make that work. If not, then we'll go with our original plan, which is pay to haul it out and bury it in
Yeah.
the landfill.
The rate to haul it, we've got probably the best rate.
Right, but it's still expensive. Yes, we have the best rate around on almost everything.
Yes. I just want to make sure that we don't get into a situation where we end up hauling it, which costs us more than the rate.
Correct.
So, okay.
Yeah.
As long as we know that. All right.
And while it benefited Marshall County to have that cost share increase from 75% to 90%, Senator McConnell and his team did some kind of magic, we'll call it McConnell magic, and it actually it's a huge benefit to the whole state of Kentucky, because it benefits Eastern Kentucky in a very significant way. Because that 90% federal share, the increase from 75% federal funding to 90% federal funding actually applies to 5 disasters. So for Eastern Kentucky, had disasters 4540 in 2020, 4592 and 4595 in 2021, and then they also had 4643 this New Year's Day. So Senator McConnell's team really helped out Western Kentucky with 4630, which is the December 10th tornado, but it also helped statewide. And if I told you what I thought that impact was statewide, I don't have access to all those numbers, but I think that impact is in at least the tens of millions of dollars, that cost share difference, the difference between 13% to 5%, and I'm sorry, from 25% state and local to 10% state and local. I think that number's about somewhere between $10 and $30 million statewide for all of those disasters. So tell your Eastern Kentucky friends they're welcome.
Yeah, talking about that, the Eastern Kentucky counties, they represented well when they came down here to help us during our disaster. And a lot of folks were unaware of their disasters that they
Correct.
had last year. And I know some of the individuals that came down and helped us when they were done with their 30-day tour here, they went back to a disaster.
Correct, yes.
And there are current disasters. I mean, Kentucky has been hit this past year, as you just stated. I'm kind of segueing into the Eastern Kentucky trip that we're going to be going to Floyd County to help them take. We've got a warehouse full of stuff that were donated to our county, and we've got plenty. And to help out Floyd County in Eastern Kentucky with their disaster is something I think that we can pay back our Eastern Kentucky counties. So yes, it's nice to see, unfortunately, when we have hard times, we do step up and support one another, so.
In the meantime, if someone can please make amends with Mother Nature, that would just be the best course. Let's just apologize and move forward. But, so I think that's it for me. We may have some bookwork and administrivia in the next fiscal court meeting. I think I do need a resolution regarding, we have a 404 FEMA hazard mitigation grant program, grant application due April 15th. When we put in that proposal, they'll need some kind of assurance that whatever grant applications we submit, the fiscal court's willing to pay the local share. Assuming that we will have a local share, it's possible the local share will be covered under the House Bill 5 SAFE grant. But regardless of House Bill 5 or SAFE grant or this grant or that grant, part of the steps is neither the state or the federal government want to award a big grant to a community that's not capable of stepping up for the local share. So maybe we don't have to do it at this fiscal court meeting, but for sure at the next, we would need a letter that says Marshall County Fiscal Court will provide the local share of any 404 mitigation grant. The grants that we're looking at are pretty sizable. We haven't finalized any of them yet because we're still working on potential projects. But this funding cycle, there will be preferential treatment given to Marshall County and the other counties affected by the December 10th tornado. However, it is a statewide competitive grant program. I don't know how much money is potentially available because it's a percentage of the permanent work projects in this disaster, and I don't think we know that yet. But it should be pretty sizable, but still, even if it's $30 or $50 million statewide, there's 120 counties. The two kind of the three main types of grants or projects that we would submit for would be generators, safe rooms, and tornado sirens. And they all cost, none of them are cheap. That's why we go after them with grants. We can choose to ask for 75% federal share, which is the max federal share on that grant, or we could do a bigger project because this could be the only opportunity that we might go after a bigger type project and ask for 50%, or usually 50% is the lowest that we would do. So if we wanted to do several safe rooms, then that may be $3 or $4 million, but if we have a comprehensive safe room program project throughout the county, then maybe we ask for 50% in this grant and then we find the other 50% somewhere else, which is something I've done before. But I'm committed as far as the court is committed, and I'll make whatever we can put together and make sense happen.
So, look, let me make sure I understand. Those are safe rooms on county property.
Oh, boy. Okay, so within the FEMA program, within this grant program, there are grant programs for individual
individuals, yeah.
homeowner safe rooms. It's usually normally that is most states do that through a revolving loan. It's never really does FEMA pay for that grant. The state of Arkansas did that for a couple years. State of Alabama did that for a couple years, but it's not really the kind of guidance or best practice now is a revolving loan so that individuals are invested in the program as well. But that is possible, and we could pursue it. I've never seen it done in the state of Kentucky before. That doesn't mean it hasn't been, but
Yeah.
it would be a unique it would be the first time it's done. But if you're,
Yeah. Well, they're-
willing, I'm willing.
They're giving out handouts at Walmart,
know,
like I
know.
told you.
Thank you, FEMA. Thank you.
You know,
FEMA.
and
Making
so
it so easy.
so I get a call about it, and they said, yeah, the county
Yeah.
just sponsors you or something like
Right,
that.
yeah.
You know, like it's no big deal or something. And
Yeah,
I said,
just-
it's FEMA. Do you not? I mean, it is. Everything's a big deal.
Right,
But I expressed, that's only half the story.
Right.
It's not, and this is
right.
not normal, but they were, I guess, sitting at Walmart handing out flyers about it.
Yeah, so FEMA has their 404 hazard mitigation team sitting at Lowe's or Walmart to talk to people about best rebuilding practices. But out of that also,
Is that?
they refer people to the state. They say, oh, it's
Yeah.
a state-managed program. The state will do it or the county
Yeah.
will do it. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
it's kind of like me saying, oh, FEMA will do it. Like, I'm not FEMA,
Yeah.
so I can't really tell you that. I can put together, I can find a sample from Alabama or Arkansas, and we can look at that. But the county would have to pay for the funds up front. You may, and the local share. So if there was such a thing as safe rooms on private property, there's going to be a lot of administrivia with it, or administration, I guess. Nothing's trivia when it's administratively burdensome. But if that's what we want to do, we can do it, and it may or may not be selected. But someone would have to come up with that local share. FEMA and/or the state, no one's going to pay 100% to improve private property
Yeah.
through a small safe room.
Yeah.
Now, the community safe rooms have less administrative burden, but, they're in key locations, they're not. There may be reasons, say we have elderly that are people who don't drive cars and they can't get to a community safe room. So maybe we have a legitimate need to prioritize individual safe rooms.
As far as switching gears, as far
Yes.
as the engineering, civil engineering, we
yep.
we did
The
approve the
1206, yep.
RFQs. We met yesterday with the three firms. The idea, and I think the court, we need to be more specific on this. The idea for those who lost their homes, need repairs in this tornado, to have the firms go out and do inspections, because obviously the codes today are different than when they built their homes in the 60s or 70s, the codes were different. But the cost, we estimated a rough cost for the grant, but I think the court needs to take a position as far as if the grant's not approved, or in some cases, we had the county attorney fill out a disclaimer for us so that the citizen gets, the survivor gets a disclaimer form that they fill out, and then the inspection office then goes out. We'll send the civil engineers out to do the inspection. But, obviously with a grant, there's no guarantees that grant will be awarded. But do we want to continue moving forward, providing that assistance to those survivors with these inspections?
Right, so this is the structural assessment to see whether a house can be rebuilt or it has to be torn down, and/or if the foundation is, if they can build back on that foundation. And while this is an eligible FEMA grant program, it is a rarely used grant program that they're trying to revive. So this FEMA and the state would very much like to see this particular grant be approved and funded. Would like Marshall County to kind of be a shining example, but that doesn't mean it's guaranteed. If the fiscal court wants to approve moving forward, regardless of whether we get reimbursed, and we may not. Oh man, we have so many problems. If we're looking for a guarantee, like I cannot give it for so many reasons, because these inspections have to be completed by May 10th. So if we wait around for FEMA to give us more of an indication of like, okay, looks good, should be fine, we'll run out of time before May 10th. But it could be as much as a couple $100,000 depending on how many people participate. It's probable that the House Bill 5 SAFE grant would pay what FEMA doesn't, but specifically in that House Bill 5 grant application, it says items not covered by FEMA, but we don't know if that means, items not covered by FEMA and because FEMA says it wasn't eligible. Like I can't put in my new diamond earrings in the grant and say FEMA didn't cover it. Well, because they shouldn't have. But as the grant application reads now, it appears to me that if FEMA doesn't cover the items in the structural assessment, that House Bill 5 will. But everything's kind of subject to change because this House Bill 5 is happening on the fly. Even in the application, there's a couple typos, and it's just obvious that everyone's running and gunning.
And I think it's best, we are obviously going to go through FEMA. And as you stated, the SAFE grant is available for us as well. But that timeline,
we're on it.
if we sit and wait for the changes, we'll pass that timeline. So we're in a situation where a decision, in my opinion, has to be made.
Today.
We've got everybody in place to execute. The high end estimated, maybe 200,000. There is a low end estimation. And it all depends on who steps forward. But I think if we put this platform in place, those that are ready to step forward, they can do that immediately. We will have the civil engineers go out and inspect. And the biggest thing is obviously a safe structure. We don't want folks repairing their home. I've seen some that an adjuster from the insurance company came out, and I can tell you the 2x12 is bowed, but the adjuster's like, looks good. That's unacceptable.
Right.
So anyways, I think we need to make a more solidified decision today that, hey, we're going to be behind this, we're going to push forward, and worst case scenario, FEMA doesn't come through, SAFE doesn't come through, then we'll come through, and we'll help out these survivors.
I think it's our obligation to, I really do.
And so this affidavit also is saying you're basically promising that you have not received money to reimburse you or your insurance will not pay for it, whatever. Okay.
We've also put some language in there, and maybe this isn't important before you decide or not, but we put some language in there that it's not intended for flippers. So they have to be the owner of the property December 10th and the current owner.
Yes, because we do have some flippers here.
Right.
Yes.
Flipping a house is a business, and so that would be a
Yes.
business expense. This is intended for the economic recovery of citizens affected by the.
So now where is that? Where?
It should state you have to be the homeowner.
It may be something Casey added afterwards.
I saw.
Yeah, I don't see.
I saw what he did, but I don't remember him putting that in there.
So it says,
Well, it doesn't say.
it mentions structure under 606 of the building code as it relates to the tornado of December 10th. Further statement. I don't see it.
Does it say something about ownership on December 10th?
Not on this one. Maybe there's another one. We're talking about the affidavit and
Mm-hmm.
certificate.
Yeah, the affidavit
No.
should have ownership as of December 10th.
So,
So we can add that if it's not on the one that you got.
It
'Cause
just-
we do have some folks that have come in and purchased.
yep.
And good for them, like, it's
Sure,
good.
yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
not the intention of this
That's
program.
correct. And I will add, this is going to help those that are in a situation where they're trying to get their home inspected. So say their insurance comes out and says that the home is
Fine.
fine. The engineer's going out and doing an assessment from somebody who is licensed to do this may say, no, it's not. And here's the elements or areas that need to be improved. The homeowner then can go back to the insurance company and say, the licensed engineer says that I need more money. That this is not a safe structure. So it ultimately helps the individual.
So, and that's prior to May 10th.
Yeah, all
Right.
these would have to be done by then.
Yes.
So how do we,
How do they schedule?
how do we get that word out to, how do they know?
We met
They know.
yesterday, yeah.
Okay.
We met yesterday.
You knew I was going to ask that? Is that why
I-
you're smiling?
Well, like,
Now you can
It's-
tell
Like,
what my
yell it
questions are
yeah.
going to be?
yell it from the
Yeah.
treetops and hills.
We met yesterday. Obviously, the disclaimer, they're going to have to fill out. Our inspection office, which is limited personnel, but our inspection office is where they would call, fill out the disclaimer, and then immediately the inspection office will identify. We've got 3 of the engineering firms. They're going to start assigning those locations to those engineering firms, and then they'll go out and do the assessment.
And obviously, okay, so the May 10th stuff, these guys are usually pretty busy. It's about like getting a surveyor anymore. I'm glad we have 3 because I can see if you have 100 of these, how it's March the 15th. They have to be completed by May the 10th.
So
Well,
if it's, hopefully, those concrete slabs, if they're maybe out by the lake, they could get 3 or 4 done
Several
in a
at one
day.
time,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, because you're not, that's true. It's
But it's,
For the most
it's
part,
the
you're
ones
talking
that are partially standing
Yeah.
that would take
longer.
longer.
Yeah.
All right, well, it
And-
is what it is.
Yeah, and the key is getting the information out. There's we've sat in these meetings and we've made decisions as a governing body, but yet there's still people that don't get the information. We can use media platform, we can use Facebook, we can use open court, but word of mouth is probably one of the biggest thing. The challenge that we're going to have is that May 10th deadline for the FEMA grant. But we'll use every platform that we have to get the information out.
All right.
As far as the disclaimer, Jason, does it matter where in the body of the disclaimer that it says, okay, so you're doing it right now? So I guess there's 2 actionable items. One, that the court's going to be committed to cover the expense if FEMA and the SAFE do not. I don't know if you want to put a high end,
200.
200,000. We can always adjust up or down, but I think that's one action item. If we want to entertain that.
I move we commit to an amount not to exceed 200,000 to cover what is not covered by FEMA or the state for these structural inspections.
Second motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. As far as the disclaimer, Jason's adding have to be the owner of the property as of December 10th, 2022,
So-
And the current applicant for this,
2021.
right, so they had to own
current
the property
applicant has to
now
be
and
the-
December 10th.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll move that we approve the county inspection disclosure with adding that the current applicant owned the home as of December the 10th, 2022. 2021.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. As the.
How does this sound, Laurel? For purposes of this affidavit, inform an owner of property means a bona fide homeowner using the property for residential purposes and does not include those persons or entities who are in the business of buying and selling properties.
Did you have as of December the 10th or whatever?
Yeah, I think that should cover it. I mean, FEMA does not give, it's not restrictive. Well, first, on the debris program, there's so many rules, I can tell you all the ins and outs and how to navigate the rules. And this program, they're kind of so vague, I'm like, well, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
I don't know how to navigate because it's such loose spaghetti that, but it's not FEMA's restriction for that.
Yeah.
It's the county's intention that,
Because we're going to send it all in as one.
Correct,
Right?
yeah.
Not each individual applicant. We're the applicant.
right, for FEMA, for this 1206 program, it's business, commercial, residential,
Yeah.
but it was the building inspection team that kind of had that initial thought, and that seemed like a good idea when,
And just to bring the attention to the court, by next court meeting, my staff will go through the budget and identify where to pull those monies. And we should even if we're out doing the assessments, that should give us time next court meeting to make an action item on where those monies are going to be pulled from.
Judge, should we do the resolution now for, to agree to have the local share for a 404 hazard mitigation grant now up to a certain dollar amount, or should we do that next fiscal court when we might know which programs we want to apply for? And the three that are potential projects are in the county are generators, safe rooms, and tornado sirens. But it's a significant, it's a possibly significant local share, but I think it's going to be covered other places. So we need the commitment, but I'm probably going to find you the money somewhere else.
We can entertain, an actionable item to have a resolution drafted.
Okay. I think it would be up to about $250,000 in local share, but out of that, you're going to get between $750 and $1.5 million
Yeah.
in federal money.
So, yeah, we can entertain a motion
To draft it and then bring it back next
Yeah.
time.
I move we have a county attorney draft a resolution.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Between now and then, will you send me kind of a rough form?
Yeah.
All the magical language that
Yes.
you need?
Yes. We knew this grant was coming, but then once they announced it, it was a pretty quick turnaround, so that's life in the grant lane. I write all my own material.
Yeah. Before you leave, let me just say, I know I told you this last week, but I got that opportunity to moderate at the KMCA. And I will say to a person, all of us that were up there that mentioned that we had hired a consultant, and I didn't mention which consultant from there because I didn't think that was appropriate. Wade did, but not our Wade, but Wade from Fulton. But that was one of our best decisions we've made as members of the court. So I just want to, if I don't get the opportunity between now and then, thank you very, very much for what you've done here. And the other thing was our hotline, I think that other folks didn't do.
Right.
And so thank you to Brittany, to Robin, to all those that were in that hotline, because I'm telling you, the differences between our counties were pretty significant. Those that, and I heard that a lot while I was up there. Marshall County was given a lot of credit for where we are versus maybe other areas. So thank you all.
I think it provided a lot of
I
relief
didn't mean
so that
to-
you could have, that you weren't stuck spinning your wheels, or your
Yeah.
phone was still blowing up, but, it,
Yeah.
maybe it blew up less. But it also allows you to know what things to worry about and what things, if I whispered like, nah, you can ignore that one. I
Yeah.
would never tell FEMA that, but you can ignore that one.
Yeah.
So I think it was a good step, but that hotline was a big deal.
Yep.
And
Thank you.
it does help to kind of aggregate. I live in spreadsheets and data, and so to be able to see, hey, 50 people are saying the same thing. 50 people are reporting fake FEMA, going door to door, or wait, maybe this is real. Like, to see it in the data makes a big difference.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks, Laurel.
This is my coworker, Erin. She may be presenting at Fiscal Court off and on for me in the future, depending on.
We know Erin.
Court mitigation. Hello.
You still plan on coming to Tater Day?
I guess I'm kind of committed.
Yeah.
No, she told me she's going on vacation.
Oh. Huh. We'll find
Aaron
you.
will be
We
here.
will find you.
We know how it works.
It's only 15,000 people there.
Okay, so this is the office number for the building inspection, so that as folks that do watch the fiscal court meeting, and we'll put this information out on our other platforms, but the number is 270-527-4744. And that is to have civil engineers inspect your property, if it's a slab, if it's a house for repair. Going into correspondence, the Eastern Kentucky trip, as we mentioned, when you have one disaster, like our disaster, Eastern Kentucky counties came down and gave help. And I think that was one of the biggest things with my association meeting in Lexington, is that letting other judges know that we can actually help each other in times of disasters. And it doesn't matter if you're in Eastern Kentucky with us all the way down in Western Kentucky. There is that window of opportunity to do that. So in this case, we have items at the warehouse. It's kind of a twofold for us. We can take items, we're going to work with the road department and First Baptist Church to take items to Eastern Kentucky over in Floyd County. I spoke with Judge Williams. They have a flood disaster that they're going through. The long-term recovery group, which is, we're all learning these different groups, but they have to be organized. They're organized so that when these millions of dollars come in, the Community Foundation of West Kentucky, they will actually write the check to the long-term recovery group. So it's kind of a battle handover to the long-term recovery group, and they're made up of individuals within our community that are in an elected seat to oversee everything from services of VOADs, volunteer groups, projects for our survivors in our county. But that group was formed, and so the community fund will run their funds through that organization.
And I think it's important too, or at least I think it's still this way, but there's not, all we as elected officials have on that would be ex officio, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we don't have anyone who is in a voting manner on that.
Correct.
That's all local citizens.
That's right.
Which is, I think, huge.
Yes, it's
Point out.
the community taking ownership and working with their neighbors to help those that we classify as survivors. So we have all this donations. We've got quite a bit of donations into our county, and Eastern Kentucky has the same issues as far as needs. One thing that the long-term recovery group will work with, we sat down with Lowe's representatives, Home Depot, Menards, all the big box stores that have materials for completely rebuilding a home. So as Catholic Charities comes in or Christian Ministries comes in, through the long-term recovery group, they identify a survivor that is going to get a complete rebuild of a home. The material has to be purchased. That'll be through the community fund and the long-term group. But then storing of some of these materials. Right now, we got stuff down at the road department that was donated, and freeing up floor space on the warehouse. We actually got a warehouse that inside the warehouse, it's got the ability to section off and lock. It's got a gate system inside the warehouse to where we can store items and keep it separate from other items. So the goal is twofold. We're going to provide donations to Eastern Kentucky, County of Floyd, and it's going to potentially free up space to where we can potentially use for material that's going to be needed for construction. But I just want to bring awareness to the court that the road department, we've got some trailers. We got another one I just got a call this morning, so we got access to a third trailer, 16-foot trailer. We can identify who's going to drive that. But they're going to go up. It's about a 7.5-hour drive to Floyd County, stay the night, offload this material to the citizens there in Floyd County, and then they're going to come back. It's next week. So I just wanted to bring that to the attention of the court, that's one of the plans that we're going to do. If there's no other discussion, we'll go on to old business. Item A, approve the minutes, March 1st meeting.
Move we approve the minutes.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item B, building inspection certification.
I guess we did that already.
Yes. New business, item A, Arbor Day proclamation. I'll just read this proclamation. Arbor Day, whereas the Commonwealth is graced with diverse forests that extend from the hardwood forest of the east to the cypress slopes of the west, and whereas trees are a sustainable resource providing significant environmental, economic, social, and human health benefits to Kentuckians, and whereas over 1/3 of Kentuckians live in a community actively managing their urban forests, spending over $8.2 million on this asset, and whereas Kentucky's forests produce products are a $13.9 billion green industry employing over 53,000 people, and whereas trees enhance our air quality, purify our water resources, protect our soil, supply a source of renewable energy, and provide valuable wildlife habitat, and whereas forests improve our health and offer a place of recreation and solace, And whereas trees and healthy forests enhance the quality of life for all Kentuckians, now therefore, I, Kevin Neal, Marshall County Judge Executive, hereby proclaim April 1st, 2022 as Arbor Day in the state of Kentucky. I urge all citizens across this great Commonwealth to participate in the observance of this day by planting a tree, our reward, and that of future generations will be a more beautiful Kentucky, whose health and well-being are sustained by this great natural resource, our forest. I know when Jenna was born, we planted a tree, and I'm sure others have done the same thing. And to look at that tree now and see how big it is, and obviously how big she's gotten, but that's one way that my family had taken advantage of not only planting a tree, but planting something to remember the birth of our child. So,
You think about that as far as the landscape
yes.
of our county, and that's one thing. I mean, can you imagine how many trees would have to be replanted to get, and how long that's going to take? I mean, it's just
Yeah, and the
sad
soil.
to think about. Yeah.
We really are going to have some issues. We obviously have a lot of rain during this time of the year. We have a lot of flooding. You can look going right up through the S-curve. Just the landscape is laid down.
Yeah.
And all that soil runoff.
Slides.
Yes.
I hadn't even thought about that.
Yep.
I guess you have.
Where the crushed concrete will come in.
Okay. All right, whatever we can do.
I'm trying to remember. As far as an action to approve proclamation of Arbor Day.
If it's a proclamation from you, you don't need to.
Don't have to do it. Yeah, I couldn't remember. All right. Lease agreement, item B, Marshall County Fiscal Court and Cambridge Shores HOA. Wade's not here, but you should have that lease agreement. This is to put a siren in the area that falls with HOA there at Cambridge Shores. They've got some property that they will let us put a siren. And so
Move we approve it.
Second.
all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item C, advertise RFP for CAD system. I got my notes. This is actually, we approved the grant. And we were awarded the grant. This is about $90,000, close to $100,000. The award for the vendor got the state grant, or basically got the state contract for the mapping system. So that's a good thing. So now our mapping system is going to be handled across the state. However, the vendor is focusing on that award from the state. So they're not going to start picking up any CAD systems until probably 2023 or 2024. So this is just an RFP based off of Kentucky Office of Homeland Security to keep that monies that we were already awarded. We have to do an RFP to go out and solicit CAD vendors.
So we're basically replacing the RFP that was sent out however
Correct.
long ago because it was approved and then they ended up decommitting from that. Yeah.
Yes.
I move we approve the advertisement for that.
Second.
RFP.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. D, concession bids.
I've got the advertisement right here. I'll try to read it. This was put in that's okay. March 3rd, Tribune Courier. Marshall County Fiscal Court will be accepting bids to provide concession services at Mike Miller Park. Bid specification can be obtained by emailing parks@marshallcountyky.gov or by visiting the park office at 596 U.S. Highway 68, Benton, Kentucky, 42025. All bids must be delivered to the Marshall County Judge Executive's Office at 1101 Main Street, Benton, Kentucky, no later than Monday, March 14th, 2022. The Marshall County Fiscal Court reserves the right to reject any and all bids. We only got one from Christian Fellowship, and it was for 15%. And last year they were at same, so it's the same bid they put in last year.
Move we approve it.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item E, mowing bids.
This one was put in the Tribune Courier again on March 3rd. Marshall County Fiscal Court will receive bids for the contractual services of mowing and weed eating of various county-owned properties. Bid specifications can be requested electronically by emailing brad.warning@marshallcountyky.gov. Bids will be received until 12 p.m. on March 14th, 2022 at the Judge Executive's Office located at 1101 Main Street, Benton, Kentucky, 42025. Marshall County Fiscal Court reserves the right to reject any and all bids. So we did receive four. One was JBM Lawn and Landscaping LLC out of Mayfield. And I did email the commissioners and judge yesterday, but I will read these into the record. Yearly bid for that one is $22,410. Next one was Harris Lawn Service out of Keville, Kentucky, and this bid amount was $30,000. Next one was Lawn Life out of Hickory, Kentucky. Yearly bid is $27,500. And Atkins Lawn Service out of Benton, Kentucky. Yearly bid is $18,000. If you've noticed, if you reviewed it, some of them were very different, and they specify how many times they'll mow each property. So when making the decision, I just want to make you all aware, and probably in years next year, we probably need to be a little bit more specific on how many times we mow. We do say you got to mow the courthouse and the judicial building once a week, but the other properties, we don't specify how many times per month. And obviously that varies, and it kind of lays on the discretion of the vendor. So that being said, just keep in mind when you do award it that some of them did specify how many times they would mow.
Well, Atkins Lawn Service has done this before, and
Yes,
they've
sir.
always done a good job.
Yes, sir.
So I'll make a motion that we approve Atkins Lawn Service at $18,000.
I'll second that.
And obviously, that was a typo in
Yes.
that month. Okay, all right. Just making sure. 15,000. Okay.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item F, training incentive. Mr. Collins, dear Mr. Collins, congratulations on the completion of your 40-hour training unit for calendar year 2022 pursuant to KRS 645275, subsection 6. You're required to be paid an annual incentive per calendar year for each training unit completed up to a maximum of 4 incentive payments. The value of the incentive payment for 2022 is $1,169.77. Our records show that you have successfully completed 4 units and are due 4 incentive payments of $1,169.77 for a total of $4,679.08. Please make the dispersing officer aware that incentive payments are not exempt from state or federal withholding requirements.
I move we approve Squire Collins's training incentive.
There a second? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
At least he said Squire Collins earlier. It was something else.
Comp time payouts. The issue of comp time has come up, and I felt like it would be a discussion for the court as far as comp time payouts. We've got some that, I know, Brad, you've been working on that. If you want to sure go into it a little bit more in detail.
Yeah, so we do have one specific, and would you let me discuss that one? If you remember, a couple years ago, we made certain positions exempt and non-exempt. One of the exempt positions was 911 Assistant Director. I think the intent there was we would be further along in our growth with 911, and that position would truly be administrative position, but really it's taken on the administrative, but also filling console vacancies. So Sheila is the assistant director, and she's filling shifts because people go to certification and get training, filling in shifts for people that are sick. And so she's accumulated a lot of comp time, but none of it has any monetary value because she's listed as an exempt employee. So I felt it appropriate to move, and this would be a amendment to the admin code, to move that assistant director position out of the exempt column and make them non-exempt so they are subject to overtime and comp time. They can still pick which one they want, but at the end of the day, it has a monetary value. So when they leave, that comp time gets paid out to them. So that being said, I think we can do this two ways. I think it's penalized her for working shifts and being behind the console to dispatch, but also to be that exempt. So she's got a total of 469 hours of comp time in her bank, and I think kind of at your all's discretion, you can ask for a request from her if she wants to put in a request of, I'd like to be paid out this many hours to get her to a certain amount and keep it in there. You can pay her all, you can pay her none, but I think it's at least a discussion. I think what we do need to do before we make that decision is make that change in the admin code so that it's clear and concise what our intention is.
So the admin code, as Brad was talking about, we had put that classification, then obviously we had the federal lawsuit that has kind of tied that up. And Sheila has been covering a lot of shifts that typically are outside of the preview of a executive director. So in essence, because of the federal lawsuit, the cart is in front of the horse. So if we make the admin change, and it will still allow her to choose hourly or comp time, but we can correct this, and then once we get through that federal lawsuit, depending on the outcome, then we can make the changes back into the admin code to be consistent with the budget, because obviously an executive director, the goal is not to have the executive director sitting at the console. But unfortunately, that's due to staffing issues and the disaster that we have been in. So two things, I think. The admin code change. And as far as today, we've got do we have the language for that?
I've got what you had sent me on the previous amendment.
Yeah, but what I sent you really doesn't have anything to do with this.
No, but I think what we were trying to tie, if we were going to make because we'd have to have a first and second reading on the admin code, judge would have to present those as amendments as a first and second reading. I don't know, are we prepared to do that today? Because I know they haven't seen the amendments.
No, I'd like to see this tabled to the next meeting.
Would it be, is there other language
Yeah,
to add to the admin code?
the one that we had discussed, I think you need to review it, that you had sent to me. But I agree, I think it probably needs to, I think this is probably put it on the radar for you guys to think through, because once you make that change, we'll have to make a decision on what to do with those hours.
I guess while we're having this comp payout discussion, what about during this 90-day period? I cannot imagine how many hours some folks at the road department and Brittany and Robin and those folks and 911 sheriff's department, whatever. I can't imagine how many comp hours we have.
Speaking with other counties, they put policies in place within their admin code to account for those. So when there are unforeseen circumstances that require a lot of hours to be worked, they carve out their exempt employees and say, okay, during this time frame, whatever that time frame is, you are now subject to receive overtime instead of just having a hours banked in a comp where you can take off later, but when you have over 400 hours of comp time, I mean, let's be honest, you're not going to be able to take those. So it ultimately penalizes those people. But so yes, that's something I think that we need to address in our admin code review in June when we make, that's the month that we review the entire admin code and make changes. I think that's some language that we need to put in
But,
there.
so that would take care of it going forward, but there's nothing that we can do retroactively?
No, I don't think that's true.
No,
I think
we
we
can-
can, yeah.
So I guess, I mean, is that,
It's,
they're gone.
as.
So
as-
is that any of that time reimbursable
During the first 30 days, because we had a lot of
Or-
our
or-
staff.
during that whatever 30 days period, or?
Yeah, so, and again, this is where you get that sliding scale, that 30 days, Laurel had put together, and she's trying to hit a moving target.
Yep.
But as far as all the counties involved, she tried to, in best possible way, to kind of show where that 30 days may fall based off of the impact. It's really hard to tell. We do know it's not going to be the first 30 days because obviously some counties didn't even get up off the ground and they skew each other. So there's going to be a decision made for that 30 days. And the reason why I bring this up is because some of our employees, even if we go back to the first 30 days, it wasn't like the 30 days was over and they stopped
Right.
working all that time.
Yeah.
So they are going to have a segment of their time covered in the 30 days.
Yep.
It's going to vary, but the answer to your question is that, yes, a portion, wherever they fall in the, where they choose that 30 days, will be covered. Now, just like we talked about, the SAFE, so that's FEMA. It may be possible that where we can submit the expenses, because this is outside their normal
Sure.
duties. So
Yeah.
we definitely can submit that with the SAFE funds. And then, as Laurel said, if it does come down to that 10% and the state covers our 5%, we obviously would try to submit for that as well.
I mean, we've got to figure it out, or we'll have months where we won't have half a staff, taking
Yes.
comp time versus
And
pay. I mean,
think,
God, I can't imagine
I think, and we can have
scheduling that.
we can have a more defined answer from Laurel at next court. But I
Okay.
think we should at least identify who
Yes.
falls in that category and
Yep.
how much time falls in that
Absolutely.
category. In the meantime, though, we've got, I'm not going to speak for the court, but to some degree, the employee, how they want to handle that time. I think we need to be sensitive to their wishes as well. If they want to handle it, to keep it accumulated, or do a payout.
Yeah, and so administratively on what you're talking about, because, so you got the assistant director, right, as a separate kind of issue, or addressing that, because that, I mean, she was covering shifts before the tornado, right? So that's kind of the separate issue. So you move to the emergency. One thing what we'll have to do is you will have to, if we make that change in the admin code and make it retroactive so it does cover the tornado, you'll have to set some sort of parameters as far as date goes, because we'll have to go into time clock and run a report based on those start and end date of overtime hours accumulated. And then if it's an exempt employee and you say, well, those hours should be treated as monetary hours, we'll have to pull those out and put them, and we can put them in a separate bank so that we can track them better. But just keep that in mind. I mean, we can't, when you throw that out there, there have to be some carving out of it, because you got hours that were accumulated before the tornado, during, and then whatever stop date is after that. So I just wanted to keep that in mind.
Yeah, and as far as with Sheila, as you were saying, I mean, I was there when they would have advertisements for people to come in for job openings, and people wouldn't show up. So there's a staffing issue, not just locally. I mean, this is an issue across the country. But either way, you've got individuals sitting in the seat and trying to get people to fill those seats can be a challenge.
So I guess, do we want to present maybe amendments at the next meeting for first reading?
Yeah, and we've got the language.
So there would be two amendments that you would present at the next meeting for first reading?
Yeah.
Because we can make that back retroactive to when, so it covers her.
Yeah.
And then they can make that decision on what to pay.
Yep. All right, so we'll have those amendments, which the admin code is an ordinance, so it'll be a first and second reading. No other discussion on that. We'll go to item I, transfers.
I just have a transient tax transfer of $18,231.19.
Move we approve.
Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Bills and claims. Is there any reason to deny payment of the bills and claims? Hearing none, let the clerk record the bills to be paid. And we need to go into executive session for litigation personnel.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We don't have anything to report, so we entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.